So I want to take a second to challenge you that you might actually be far richer than you think you are, and not because of the many millions of dollars you've saved, but actually because of how you have stewarded what God has given to you. And I know a lot of you are either approaching retirement or in retirement, and most likely feeling some anxiety or shame or just overall fear around reaching certain benchmarks so that you can make it in a sense and be ready to retire. You can get to that $1 million mark, or that you can be above the median on these various different average savings charts for your age group. But like I started in this video, what if wealth isn't about what's in your account? What if it's more about peace, margin, freedom? But of course, you're probably thinking, well, Dylan, you do need some piece of wealth to be able to care for yourself in retirement. Well, of course. And in this video, I wanted to just walk through 5 different types of retirees who are all far wealthier than they realize. And I'm sure most of you will fall into one of these 5 categories. And I think that you can learn a lot and maximize the strengths from the retirees in these different groups. So let's jump in and walk through those. The first retiree has one of the biggest overlooked sources of wealth, a lot closer to home than you may think, pun intended, because the first type of wealthy retiree is the mortgage-free retiree. You have a home, and that home is paid off, and therefore you are eliminating one of the biggest expenses that comes in retirement: housing. And that's the type of peace and provision that doesn't necessarily show up on a balance sheet, knowing that your home is paid for, but it actually also kind of does show up on a balance sheet. Let's say, for example, if your mortgage is $2,500, I mean, that's the equivalent of around, say, roughly $600,000 in an investment portfolio working for you to provide that monthly income amount. So that is not small potatoes in a sense. And owning your home outright lowers the amount of monthly expenses you need in retirement, which is huge for your cash flows, protects against inflation, and just gives you flexibility. If you have a place to stay that is paid for, you can utilize that home equity down the road if you need to. You just open doors to have options down the road. So that's the first type of wealthy retiree. Home ownership isn't the only overlooked strength that there is. There's another type of retiree I want to touch on who may not look wealthy on paper, but is often far richer in practice than most people. And this type of retiree is the modest spender. I've seen a lot of families who do have wealth tend to not feel like they have enough because they're around other people who are wealthy, and they just always feel like they need a little bit more. So having the ability to live within reason, to be a modest spender, and to not feel that need for more is such a superpower, and I believe it's just such a profound and powerful form of wealth in and of itself. And with that, I mean, the Bible backs that up. In 1 Timothy, Paul says that godliness with contentment is great gain. Contentment, like I've said, can be just one of your biggest superpowers and one of the biggest forms of wealth that there are. So if low expenses can be a hidden superpower and having that contentment, imagine what happens when your income itself is guaranteed as well. So that is another type of wealth, and this is the pension powered retiree, the third type of wealthy retiree, having a guaranteed source of income that is going to provide for you in retirement. And I've done a video on this in the past. I'll include a link to that video in the description below, but pension really is one of the most underrated blessings in retirement. Not having to worry about where your paycheck is going to come from, or having to come up with an income strategy to pull money from your investments. Of course, works really well when you tie all the different income sources together, but having that guaranteed income source is just huge for you as the retiree. Having that consistent source of income coming from the pension makes your income a bit more market proof, buys you more peace of mind, and that peace of mind is just another form of wealth that you can have in retirement. Having your house paid off, being a modest spender, having contentment, having a guaranteed source of income, these are all things that can give you peace, give you confidence. But on the other hand, something that can just be kind of sneaky and quietly steal your wealth as a retiree if you don't plan for it correctly, are taxes. So the fourth type of wealthy retiree is the low tax retiree, someone who has their tax situation set up really well, where they're really flexible and don't have to be giving the IRS any tips and paying more taxes than they need to be. So this is another, hidden form of wealth, where someone who has $3 million all in a pre-tax IRA versus another family who, just for simplicity's sake, has, say, $1 million in a Roth, $1 million in a taxable brokerage account, $1 million in an IRA. Sure, they have the same amount of money on paper, but that second person with the different types of investment accounts that are taxed flexibly gonna have a lower tax bill in the grand scheme of things, most likely, than the retiree with all of their money in that pre-tax IRA. So wise tax planning also being a hidden form of wealth in the long run with your retirement planning. If you're able to diversify what types of accounts you are investing in, if you're able to diversify your withdrawals, and if you're able to be smart with your giving, if you are a generous giver, you can stretch your dollars far more than you may have realized. And the fifth and final type of retiree that I wanted to touch on today sort of ties all of these different types of retirees, types of principles I've been walking through together. This is the flexible retiree. So this is the retiree who has a plan in place, has things set up well, doesn't have all their eggs in one basket, and they are very maneuverable throughout their retirement. They don't have to be worried about changing economic environment. They don't have to be worried about big expenses coming up. They have their bases covered with different types of investment accounts, with a diverse tax strategy, with maybe various income sources. They've got different outlets, and the big piece of flexibility that is huge for you, and flexibility is so powerful for you as the retiree because it allows you to actually enjoy your resources instead of your resources and the protecting of them, the planning around them, instilling a lot of fear in your life and allowing you to not live a life that is fulfilling. And this is why I think it's so important to have a great financial plan in place, because a great financial plan, if orchestrated well, will give you flexibility and will allow you to live a life of peace and confidence in retirement. But of course, being a believer, we have to recognize that everything does belong to God. Proverbs tells us that in their hearts, human plans their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. So we want to plan, but we also want to be prayerful with how we're carrying out that plan and trusting God that He is going to make good of our situation and of your journey into retirement. So whether you're the mortgage-free retiree, you're content, have modest spending, have a pension, you're tax savvy, you're flexible, chances are you're much wealthier than you may have previously thought that you were coming into this video. So these are just examples of different types of retirees that there are. And something that I do really want you to take home from this video is that two biggest things that I think make up a wealthy retiree in my experience working with families in and approaching retirement is flexibility and contentment. And like I said before, having a great financial plan helps give you that confidence, that peace of mind. And then knowing that God is in control helps to give you that peace and that confidence as well. So if you would like help building a plan that is going to give you that flexibility and confidence like we've talked about in this video with these various types of wealthy retirees, please feel free to click the link below in the description to schedule a free retirement planning call with myself. Hope you have a great rest of your week. We'll see you guys next week in the next video. Take care.